I don't know about you, but obviously, like, you've got a period where you're kind of just thinking about something to where you finally, like, buy the domain or buy, I don't know, a subscription or something like that, where you are having to kind of like pay out money. And I almost felt like a lot of pressure from then on. But I feel like a lot of people do jump into the subscriptions before they are actually ready. So a lot of people subscribe to Shopify. They don't even like bother doing the test site. They just sign up there and there because that's what they think is best at the time.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking of starting something and you've never done anything like it before, I definitely recommend like speaking to people, like reaching out to people that have done it themselves, because what you'll find as well is like people want to help people. I love talking about business and helping people start, and like I would back anyone that's doing their own thing. And the same with most other people that are doing their own thing. So I definitely think like speak to people, because there's no point in kind of just throwing yourself in at the deep end, because you can save yourself a lot of time and money. And alongside like find other people, most cities have kind of like a startup, I don't know what to call them, like I guess incubators or accelerators, those kind of things. So where you can basically go along and say, this is my idea, this is what I want to do. And they will just like guide you through it and give you all the support. So like we're part of one in Sheffield called the Cooper Group. And we have like calls in COVID now, like every Monday and Thursday. And it's literally just a call where we speak with other people that have their own businesses. And if we have any issues, we just brainstorm and help each other out and just, build on each other's experiences. And so, yeah, I definitely reach out. I think that's the best advice.
Yeah, and I think especially I found that sometimes you do have to take a step back on, like, obviously it's really hard when you're like a perfectionist, but if someone else is doing that work, they're not inside your like mind. So you really have to explain yourself about what you truly like want from them, because otherwise you get this like miscommunication, and then you don't understand why they aren't doing what you wanted, but then they don't understand the company profile, for instance. Like, I do feel quite strongly about that you shouldn't be hiring people without a lot of communication beforehand, and the company profile and branding and all of that, like, because if you don't get the tone right, and if it's not the same all the way through, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. Like, I think that's like one of the founding things. So once like you've got your idea, it's like, okay, so what do I want this company to be? What do I want it to look like? And there's so many like branding exercises out there. Like, we were really lucky to spend some time with Piers Linney, one of the ex-Dragons, and he was like, branding is everything, like is literally everything. So we went off and did this like branding exercise, which was, okay, what does Slothmove, the business, as a person, what do they look like? What do they wear? How do they talk? What's their tonality? And we also did things like, what's the mission? What is it that gets us out of bed in the morning? Like, what is our purpose as people, as in this business? Like, what are we here to do? And then everything that you do, every decision that you make, you come back to this like core purpose. But I think, yeah, like you say, the branding part is just so important, because that's how you then go and design everything. I mean, like, even from social media through to, emails, through to your website, through to your product, like you should have the same fonts, the same colors, the same imagery, iconography, all that kind of jazz. Else it's just a bit discontinued.
Well, I feel like a lot of companies get themselves into a situation where they can no longer function on just them, like, especially if it's a single person, like, that is so difficult. And you've also got an image in your mind of what the business is meant to be, but then when you try and kind of, if you don't really think about that branding and what that person's like is like, your demographic, and you get yourself into a situation where that's now on the back seat because you've already started the business, it's already like 1 year down the line, and you still haven't thought about that, you'll get stunted because you then don't know how to further that. And if you do get people to work for you, they won't know how to like help.
Yeah, like you're gonna have to take a step backwards before you can go forwards, for sure. Yeah, like one of the mistakes that we made when we started was we know that when you choose an audience, you're meant to be really specific, and we were like, well, our product can literally serve anybody that's moving home. So it's like anybody that's under a roof, like that's our audience, which is basically everyone. And that didn't work for our branding, because it was really difficult to like pinpoint what we should look like and what we should be and what kind of content we should put out. And then we kind of like completely redefined and said, right, so like the people that we want to help the most are first time buyers and, younger people, like not students so much, but we can help students, but like, 25 to 34 demographic. And then we also learned that females make the most choices in the house. Like females are the decision makers, everything housewise. So that's like that's our demographic. But that was really difficult to do in art.
And you're saying that like women are the decision makers, and I think it's so important that even if you're not the face of the brand, they know that it is a women like owned business. I think that's so important right now.
100%. And like one of the things that like I'm trying to do more is be more the face of the brand. And I think because like I'm always so wrapped up in like the back end of things, and I like my main focus at the minute is onboarding housing developers and trying to get partnerships with some of the housing developers. So like it comes back to like wearing so many hats and being in the right frame, and it's like consistency. I don't want to do something and then it not be consistent, but like on the website, like it looks like it's me, and like our live chat thing, it's like it's me again. It's Anna. And then my LinkedIn is like everything slothmove. But yeah, that's definitely one thing that I want to be more prominent. And people, like, the thing is, if you start a business, even if it's service or not, people love people. Like, just think about yourself. Think of Tesco, for example, or M&S. It's like a faceless monster. It's like a faceless machine.
Oh, monster was the right word. Let's go back to monster, because
to be honest, we've had like, I've tried to like have dealings with M&S, and like it's not been like, they're not nice to do.
Oh, customer service is completely outsourced and underpaid, and they can only do so much. You can probably get more out of someone in store than through their own customer service.
Even like HQ, like I was like, okay, that's like not polite, but okay. Don't really want to shop from you again, but that's where I get my burrata from, so kind of got it. But yeah, it's like people just feel more kind of secure, and like people want to support people,
especially now. I mean, small businesses, like, this is the time to be really thinking about that. And I know one of our friends is planning on starting their own business, and that it's so important. I mean, especially if you are coming from like your demographic, you're coming like from a profile that's already kind of highly engaged. You then need to move those people into sales, and that's a lot easier when you've already got engaged following.
Like 100%. Like it would have been like an absolute dream scenario. Like if I had like because my personal Instagram, like because I've had it for so long and I've like done different things, like I have such like a mishmash of like followers, so my engagement's not amazing for the amount of followers that I have. So that's like one thing. Like I wish I had like a better engaged audience, because like slothmove would have been so good to slide in. So
yeah, obviously, like, I'm never going to use anything but slothmove now, but for instance, like, this wouldn't have happened without Instagram, and none of us, I mean, we didn't meet each other. I know we met each other, but we didn't start speaking on Instagram until like quite apocalyptic event had happened in the keto world, and happened to be pulled into it via a friend, and
targeted.
And there is like security in having that like online presence of friends and people who are in the same boat as you. And I feel that even if you haven't got as much engagement, you talk to a lot of people on Instagram.
100. And I think as well, like what I find is like I resonate so much more, well, not even a case of so much more, but I feel like the people that like I've connected with recently, like yourself included, it's like just feels like so much more like-minded, doing, you're doing your own thing. So many other people are either doing their own thing or soon to be doing their own thing, and it's just an amazing kind of like group to be in. And like, I know it's that cheesy saying of like, find your tribe, but I genuinely feel like I found my tribe.
I found it difficult to kind of like find friends that, well, it's not even that they like might not understand me, but they might not, because they come from a very different time in my life, that they aren't 100% of like my kind of person, you know. Obviously, like I have like, you know, best friends and friends from home and friends from uni, all that, but at the same time, like I'm my most true. I know it might sound a bit contradictory, you know, that I've had issues with Instagram, but I am me on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like if I'm chatting to you, that is just me, and I feel like I'm not any different over messages than I am kind of like talking in person. But me outside of Instagram, as much as I try to be like 100% me all the time, that I've kept myself quite private off of Instagram because I feel that people will use that to their advantage sometimes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And whereas that's perfectly okay for, you know, jobs and whatever, it might not be okay for friendships. So like I don't really think of myself with that amount of following when I'm talking to like you guys all in the group chats. Like it's just me being like brutal and sarcastic. That's just
being down to earth. I think I resonate a little bit with you there, because like it's only like, this is a good point to mention. So you're like, I was always like mortified to talk on my stories. I think since I've not been at work as well, so when I've not been around people that I feel would judge me, like I feel so much more laid back. I feel so much more at ease talking and, you know, just doing stupid, do you know what I mean? Like just being myself, and I shouldn't say like doing stupid stuff, like just being me, but like, you know, I do stupid stuff, that is me. But just being able to be that kind of like open, like I feel that is because I'm not surrounded by the same kind of people that I feel would, you know, judge me if they were to see. Well, they do see it still.
Because obviously like some people may get confused like when I add them on like Facebook or something, because it is very separate. And you feel that, but like as soon as, you know, we're being tagged in memes and stuff, like it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
But for someone on the outside, that I may come across as false because I've put myself out there very differently than I have on like my personal accounts.
Yeah.
And it is because like I feel like, especially when I was working in retail, like there was a lot of judgment. And regardless of like whether or not I had the followers, I didn't want to be putting myself out there, especially with weight loss, especially with like nutrition and health, and you don't need that negativity.
You don't want to come out there to be judged.
Yeah. My account is basically like anonymous. I've blocked everyone that I know, because quite frankly, like, and I feel I shouldn't care, but if they're still in my life, if I'm still going to see them, I don't want them to be judging me based on my personal journey and my personal Instagram account rather than my actual personal Instagram account, which if that makes sense.
No, I hear you. And I think as well, like, because like one of the things that I've seen a lot of recently, and like Grace Beverly being one of them, like, you know, she's kind of saying now that she doesn't want to be on Instagram as much, like, because she values her own kind of private space. And I think when you do put yourself out there, like, I think you've got a right to be able to withdraw yourself when you want, and only to show yourself to who you want as well, because like it's your own headspace, it's your own mental health, and it's like you've got to protect it, else, you know, where's it going to lead?
Exactly, and that's why I do try to separate, because if I don't, then I'll one, burn out again, because then I'll be constantly thinking. But it's almost like it's not even a job, and it is not acting at all, because, you know, it is just me, but it is maybe a bit more like raw, and maybe a little bit, I know my photos are edited, but, you know, like the food photos, but obviously like a little bit less edited in caption wise, maybe like truth wise. And obviously, you know, there's a lot of stuff on my blog that maybe wouldn't be shared with
like people that you
know, neighbours. Yeah
closer to you. 100%. I think it's good to have that separation as well, because if you didn't have that separation, like you're saying back at the beginning, like how do you turn off? You can never turn off. Like you have no option, whereas you give yourself the option now.
Exactly, and you see people like Remy Ashton, like that's not her real name, you know, that's a like mixed match of like loads of different like parts of her name, and it's the same with like Alicia Marie, like that's not her last name. Marie is not her last name, but she has picked that so that she can still have an air of like anonymity.
Yeah.
But they've been really successful, and by doing that, and that's, you know, that is absolutely great. But there's a lot of people that have had to put their real name out there, and so and obviously there'll come a point where maybe I have to, but my last name is so uncommon, and I do struggle with this, that literally just by my last name, like you could find a lot out about my personal life. It's not like anything bad, it's literally just me.
Yeah, no, I don't think like there'd ever be a need for you to use your real name. Like if you didn't want to, I can't see a reason for you having to.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, you know, if it's so silly, like the best marketing at the beginning, so for instance, like for this would be friends and family, but I wouldn't share this with like friends and family. But obviously I'd share it with my audience on Instagram, you know. Obviously, like when you do market with friends and family, you do have to be kind of ripe for any feedback, both positive and negative.
Brutally honest of a relative's opinions. Like, oh, all right.
Yeah, your second biggest critic will be friends and family.
Maybe that's one episode, like list top 10 critics.
And how I've been betrayed in the past by it.
Yeah, I think you have to be brave to put it out to friends and family, because I think again, it comes back to, it's almost, that is real life. It goes out there and then that's it. Like these are people that you see every day, as opposed to you put it out there to an online audience. And if it was something dreadful, I come back to, we're our biggest critics. Like what we put out there is always awesome. Like people want to listen to it, else they wouldn't be listening to it. And it's always us that get in our way. But for me, I always found it embarrassing when I like launched a YouTube video, and I never really wanted to share it with friends and family, because I was like, again, these are the people that are going to see it every day. And if I look wrong, or if I say something that's wrong, it's like I cringe. But it's not the case, and I feel like we need to get out of it. But again, and I think you're really wise, because initially when you were saying about, you know, not with friends and family, I was like, I would almost dispute it, but actually I think it's really wise, because I think it gives you that option to shut off. Like I know I said it before, but I actually think it's like a really valid point. I
feel like if I was starting an actual business, I would be pushing that towards my friends and family. But because it's still like a journey, and because, you know, I haven't quite decided maybe what like my business will be in its kind of like entirety, that maybe it's more of a until it's actually done. If I haven't kind of fleshed out that business idea, then I don't really want to be sharing it with friends and family.
Yeah, I feel like it's ready. Yeah, it's like you're kind of still figuring out what it looks like, putting the meat on the bones.
Yeah, and obviously like I'm trying to build stuff like behind it, rather than, you know, actually launching anything or having like hype around a launch, because we don't really know what it's gonna be like yet.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, like when you're starting something, you don't know what it looks like. I think you've got to take the time, and I think you need to really understand like what is the problem. Like you got to ask yourself, what problem am I solving, or what problem do people have? And even when you've answered those questions, like that's not the end of it. Like it's still like, okay, so what does it look like? How can I make something that people actually use and engage with? But do you know, it is a fun journey as well. Like it's a really fun journey to be on.
Definitely, and obviously like, we've all kind of found each other just through a diet that a lot of people would probably dismiss. So.